for our listeners, we're just sitting here chatting. It's one of those kind of days. We just decided that it's probably better to just chat with you, Micheline. So we have Micheline Green, which in and of itself is a sweet kind of synchronicity because my last name, maiden name, is Green with an E though. But the truth of the matter is it really should be Green with no E. But my father decided that he wanted to be a little different than his siblings. So he added the E on the end to turn it into Green Knee. And my cousins still laugh to this day that we're greenies and they're really the greens. So somehow Micheline, through vibration and through who knows what, we're somehow related because we're two green girls, and that's an important thing. So welcome.
Love that. Thank you.
And we have, of course, today we have with us Nia. So yay! Let me go back to welcoming you, Micheline. That's quite a beautiful name. I really, really love it. You're living in the Pacific Northwest when you feel like it, but you're originally in this space and time living in Arizona. And there's some beautiful things about your bio that I love. It strategic wisdom partner, guiding visionary women leaders through high performance and deep presence. We'll have to talk about that. Supports women in the intersection of intuition, integrity, parenting, and leadership. You bring 25 years of global experience across, I love this whole thing, child protection counseling, Waldorf education, which I had Nia in Waldorf for probably 2 years. And it was an experience because my relatives were like, what are you doing? She can't see Disney. She can't play with Disney toys. And she's taking her food to school in a basket and not a lunchbox. But I really wanted her to start her experience in schooling to be simple and easy. And they used to bake bread for the fire department and they took wonderful naps. And it was really, really sweet. So I'm glad I did it. And it was just interesting having her be around her cousins, and they had all these other things. And Nia, she had them, but she didn't take them to school, which was really good. So you also, I love this whole thing about reframing leadership and parenthood. That's something all by itself. So we'll talk about all these things. You are known for walking alongside clients through uncertainty and transformation. I definitely want to talk about that because we are in uncertain times, and everyone that I know is looking for ways to transform their lives and to claim something bigger and higher and less, what's the word? Crazy, maybe. So maybe that's an answer, but I'm sure I'll have another word for it, and so will you. And you can create compassionate, courageous spaces that catalyze insight, connection, and meaningful change. So I really do want to welcome you. These are all topics that I definitely over my career have tapped into. Women's leadership is a big piece of the puzzle for me. It's really my little side hustle. I teach communication skills and presentation skills and media skills and those kinds of things and do executive coaching around communication. But my little side hustle, which tends to keep hanging in there for the last 20 plus years, has been with women's leadership. So I'm always looking for ways to expand and bring women's voices to the table, show us new ways that we can lead. And I think it's not even new ways we can lead. It's about leading from who we are more than anything. So it's great to have you here today. I'll let Nia do a little bit about her participation in this so that our audience knows. This is going to be on YouTube as well, so it'll be fun to see us. So you can be as animated as you want because, of course, that's a part of being in the visual element. So Nia, if you want to share a little bit about where you are and what you are doing in your life, that'll be great. And then we'll come to Micheline.
Yes. Well, I think that for the Women Express podcast, what makes this exciting today is we've kind of had a similar theme coming along the past couple of months or over this year in general. And it keeps coming back to this idea of motherhood, women's leadership, and parenting. So it made sense to have you here today. What I am excited about. It was funny between this relationship between Denise and I, who is my mother, which I'm sure on the podcast everybody knows, but we go into the trainings for our other business and people are like, is the Harringtons a coincidence? I'm like, yes, this is my mom. That's really who we are. No coincidence. That is my mother. You're correct.
My mom.
And so I think it's been fun as I've joined this podcast over the last year. Really, I've been stepping up more into this role to visit these topics of motherhood. So I know, Micheline, you have a book coming up about leadership and motherhood and how to parent your children. So I think it's a perfect place to dive in as we close out this season of 2025 for Women Express podcast. So welcome. Let's turn the table over to you.
Thank you so much to both of you. I think it's just such a thrill to be with a mother and a daughter. I just love it. Yeah, thank you so much. Where would you like me to start? Do you have?
Well, I love this idea about the coaching, but before we go there, since Nia did a great job of setting it up in terms of the parenting and leadership, known for walking alongside clients through uncertainty and transformation. And it seems like those two things really are not simpatico, that they're separate, that they're not true. How do you do that? How do you bring people into a place of understanding uncertainty and how uncertainty actually can be a positive for or a catalyst to transformation? So I'd love to hear more about that. I love the way you put it, walking alongside clients through uncertainty and embodied transformation.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, that's the behind the words strategic wisdom partner, right? Mm-hmm. This is the title that I've given myself because I feel that parenting is constantly not knowing. We don't really know. We're really just going on what others have said or what our friends have done, what our parents have done, maybe we're researching and reading, but they are changing all the time, these kids. 1 week they love raisins and the next week, they're throwing them across the table because they don't like raisins. And you're like, what do you mean? You just like raisins, so it's constant uncertainty with children.
How do you take that experience? Because really being a corporate trainer and coach, how do you take that experience and give it to adults? I mean, we are in a very uncertain time in our country. Let's just be honest about it. It's uncertain. From day to day, things are crazy. The norms that we used to really value are no longer valued. Some of the things that are being valued are totally against who we are. So there seems to be and need to be not only transformation within our corporate environment, but for adults in general. How do we, as adults, create transformation during uncertain times, during change?
Yeah. So this is why I see parenting skills and leadership skills are hand in hand. They are the same set of skills that we need if we want to be raising conscious leaders 30 years from now, we need to change our parenting right now. And so we are in very uncertain times. We are actually in what is called a meta crisis. There are so many areas of our world that are collapsing or in uncertain and unstable places. Our medical system, our education system, our political system, our ecological system, all of it feels very unstable. And so it's the strategic wisdom partner. What is wisdom? Wisdom is being able to stand in the unknown, to be with the unknown, to stand on that edge and not really know what is coming and how is it arriving. And that is a very scary place for many, many, many people. And when we are in fear, which is what that edge brings, we automatically, this is a natural autonomic defense system built into our beautiful bodies, that we all have. And we go back to what we know. We go back to what has worked in the past. We go back to some place where we felt safe. So example with parenting, they used to like raisins. They're not liking raisins. They're throwing raisins across the room. We go, well, you liked raisins last week. And we walk over to them and we get a little louder, or we bring in a little more of our energy, or we raise our voices, or then we're, and now we're in this power struggle with a 4-year-old. I mean, we've all been there as moms. We recognize that happens. And so what we're doing is we're just doubling down on something that's happened in the past. And that's how we're all approaching this very uncertain time that we're on. We're doubling down on what's kept us feeling safe in the past. And often that is control. If I can just control my own environment, if I can just control my kids are, eating the raisins, my job is safe, my this is that, as long as I can control my environment, then I can feel at peace. However, when we keep doubling down and doubling down and doubling down on control, we've lost ourselves in the process, and we're actually deeply riddled with anxiety. Because anxiety is what's driving this need for control, because we actually don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And so this is where I bring in this idea of it's not about control. It's about coming into presence and being able to stand on that edge of not knowing. That to me is the place where wisdom really starts to expand and grow.
Is that the place of transformation? Because the truth of the matter is you have to embrace the idea that you are transforming. I just feel like in my coaching processes, I do have executives that constantly go back to the past. Well, this is how that used to be, and we're not trying to do that now. How to get them to a place where they transform, or individuals. All of us do some level of individual coaching. How do we get individuals to accept the fact that standing on that edge, a big piece of that is the gateway to transformation?
Exactly.
Well, my question would be quickly, because I think, at least for me personally, or like in day-to-day life, sometimes that word transformation, that's really big. And also the word presence is hard to grasp. So how would you describe to someone, what does being present mean for somebody that is so caught up in needing to control? I think we get stuck in two places. There is the place of, okay, the past is the past, and these are all of my experiences that I'm carrying with me. But then there's a future person who we want to be, and we're so stuck in those places. How would you tell somebody to be present when their minds are stuck in one of those worlds?
Yeah, sure. I want to just adjust what Denise said at first, like that edge where it feels all uncertain and it's a little wobbly and you don't know. A lot of people are in this. A lot of people have lost their jobs. They don't know. A lot of people have kids that have got a lot of challenging issues right now. They don't know. That is the edge where growth happens, because it's outside of our comfort zone. It's into this area of not knowing, because something else is needing to come online. And when I say online, something new needs to be born within us. And really, for me, when I'm working with my clients, that's skill development. Okay, my work that I work with my clients is all about developing themselves, because all of us are arrestedly developed. Like, let's just acknowledge that we all are arrestedly developed in some way. Our parents couldn't meet us because they didn't have the skills to meet us when we were challenged as children. Therefore, we don't have those skills to meet our children. So now our children have these behaviors. We don't want to react the same way our parents did. So now we have new skills to develop. Same with leadership. We are all working out of a very old paradigm of leadership. It's very patriarchal. It's very masculine. It's very do, more, faster, stronger, better. We women have, stepped into that leadership role. We have mastered being leaders in that role. But if we keep building companies and leading people from that masculine paradigm, we're just creating a thing of the past. So we women have these innate knowledge and energies, and I call this our ancestral intelligence, right? We're all talking about AI. I have AI, but that's ancestral intelligence, that if we can, remember that part of ourselves, the feminine is the edge of evolution. The feminine is elusive. The feminine can never truly be understood. And this is in all of us, men and women, but we women have access to it in much greater ways. So to come back to your question, Nia, around presence and transformation, of course, transformation feels like a huge word. And most people, it's thrown around quite easily and literally, easily, but not necessarily literally understanding it. What is it? Formation, right? I have a formation. So I have a form. Here's Micheline. Here's Micheline as a mother. Here's Micheline going to work. Here's Micheline. That's my form,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's an identity. And we're all trapped in our identities. If you ask people who they are, they're going to say, I'm an executive, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter. We have these titles and roles that we wrap ourselves into this form. And this identity becomes almost like a trap to ourselves because it's really hard to step out of that identity. Oh, I've always done it this way, therefore, this is how I'm going to continue to do it. And then when things get uncertain, I want to going to fall back into that identity and fall back into those patterns that I've used in the past, doubling down, right, to try and feel safe again. So transformation it's outside of it's transforming that identity because it's already happening. All the people who've lost their jobs, people who've lost family in the COVID crisis, people who, I mean, transformation is happening. We as humans are trying to grip and hold on to the identity of our past, trying to grip and hold on to something that has worked in the past. But life is coming. The feminine is coming. Whoosh. It's moving and shifting stuff within us. It's a very disruptive energy. And so, how do we be on that edge of transformation? It is being presence with our presence. Now, presence also is quite a new word. I mean, we understand present, but presence, it is a combination of two words. It's about being fully present in the moment and sensing. And that's how we get presence. So, how do I be here right now? Not thinking about what I'm making for dinner later, not thinking about the argument I had with somebody 2 days ago, not, obsessing about my hair, what's going on in this moment, but just being here now, present with you, with all the technical things we're having. It's okay. We're all just here now. And we're just going to be in the moment here now, while at the same time sensing into one another, because we are all a piece of the divine, connected with one another at all time.
It's funny you talk about that because we record our podcasts at a women's, it's kind of like an executive women's club in downtown DC. And part of the conversation today was about that, the flow of the universe and how we're all intimately connected. We really are. It doesn't say that, things like some of the things that are going on in our government and some of the things that are going on around the world don't affect us, because they truly do. But the evolution of us all is kind of like a oneness. There's an evolution. So you could look at all this stuff that's going on right now as it's catastrophic and it's horrible and it's terrible, and those things are true. But the other piece about the divine feminine energy is it is disruptive. It can disrupt in order to, or that nature, we could even call it, disrupts for something new to be born. Going through disruption, it's funny. I was talking to my son about this because he's going through a lot in his work situation right now. And it just feels horrible. It feels, you're anxious. It's all the stuff. So I'm just utilizing his experience. But there are lots of people in my life right now that are going through like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I had this experience and this was too much and I couldn't do it. All of that is for waking or disrupting so that we get to a different thing. Because if you really take a look at all that's going on in today's world, it's at a place where, can we really keep going like this? Can we really, I mean, seriously, can we really keep going like this? And you can ask that question on an individual level, or you can ask that question on the greater collective level, or you can ask that question as individuals, each in a group, to see how we can begin to talk about what does transformation mean for us personally and as a collective. Because it's very interesting that, the way to stand up and make transformation is to truly let go of the old ways of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, that's, part of the process is the skills that we have up until this point are not the skills that are going to help us into the future. We need new skills. I think that's why we've been collectively on quite a self-development flurry, so to speak, over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
We're all recognizing that we can grow up. We have agency here to expand our consciousness. We have agency here to expand our skills. We have agency to expand optimization and peak performance and longevity, and all of these things are very popular right now. What I'm seeing is a lot of that business, which it has turned into a very big business. It is based on the premise that there's something wrong with us. And that's the piece that I never hold that piece, although I've been through that myself, for sure, when I was going through my own painful divorce and bankruptcy. And, I've had some hard life lessons, as so many of us have had. And the process there is we are needing these new skills to grow up. And it's not to get to higher levels. This is what people think, because I'm here and I need to grow myself to get here and grow myself to get here. What I actually do with my clients, as I say, strategic wisdom partner, is I'm partnering with them to expand. So it's from here, that children's toy that just expands open and closes? That's what we're needing. Because this is how we move all the time. We are nature. So think of the seed. It grows and it pauses. It cracks open and then it waits. And then it's a sapling and then it pauses. So it's like, this is the nature of how we're growing. So how do we expand our awareness, expand our consciousness? So there's actually nothing wrong with us. It's just we're opening more and more. I keep telling my clients, we're making a 2% move. That's it. 2% just from here to here. This is how much more awareness you can have and how much more consciousness you have access to. We throw around the word consciousness all the time, and I throw the word around too, but let's just laugh at ourselves. Really? We humans are conscious? No, we're not. We're like toddlers, really, on the grand scheme of things, right? If we look at 14 billion years of Earth and we've lived 10,000, I don't know, 200,000 years. Come on, we're not conscious.
Yeah.
We're just a blip on this planet.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I love that you said the 2% growth, because as I've been listening, I wanted to say, okay, well, what are the skills and what do we do to get there and where do we find them? I was even thinking this morning, and it's funny how these things are so much synchronicity in life. When you put things in front of you or you ask for them, they show up. So this morning I'm listening to a self-help book, and I have a hard time listening to self-help books because I feel like the nature of my family, the nature of my job, the nature of who I am, I'm always like, I don't need any more self-help. I've done enough. I'm kind of exhausted. So having what is your 5-year plan? I don't like it. That makes me uncomfortable. What is your 3-year plan? What is even the 1-year plan? I don't like to be like, oh, let's have it in the 5 categories and let's do this, a big one in each all of that to me is like, my whole soul can't do it. So I was going to ask all these skill sets, and then for you to come back and say that is, it's like, how do you get to that bigger purpose if you are having to focus in all of those categories at once? It makes you feel like, okay, well, I'm doing really good over here, but if I don't have this category, then am I failing? So I'm really enjoying this, just 2% growth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just share a little bit to get more practical and how I work with my clients. So one of the things that you said there was, this 2% move and all of these skills. Well, the self-development business model, which is, again, it's a big business now, that's
It is.
still based on a masculine model.
Yeah.
What's
And
your
on that
goal?
model
How are
of
you achieving?
something's
What are
wrong
you
with you.
getting up the ladder? How are you making
Yeah.
it, right? And we got caught up in that, and that's okay. We have to
Mhm.
get lost to find ourselves. That's the nature of living. Paradox. We have masculine, we have feminine, we have night, we have day. So this getting lost to find ourselves is we're just course correcting. And this is what we do as humans as well. So, for example, working with my clients, we choose a topic to work on. They want specific something in their area of their life to change. So we work together to decide on what's the topic so that we do have some directionality, but it's
Mhm.
not an outcome. It's not like I want to get a job, I want to make $250,000, I want to lose 20 pounds. We're not coaching and working to an outcome. There's a
Mhm.
developmental arc. There's a growth that's happening because you're on that edge. You're in that uncertainty place. So that transition place is the creative source of life. And
Yeah.
so being there and naming that topic is really an important process. And it's where I spend a lot of time with my clients to really help them name that. Because they
Mhm.
come in with, oh, I just don't want this, or I don't want that, or I want all of this and all of that. And that's like, again, that's we're not so conducive to the process. So it's like, let's really get subtle. Let's really get
Mhm.
underneath it all to really help you define what that topic is.
Mhm.
From
It's so
there,
interesting. Sorry to to pop in. It's making me think even more to this morning because part of the process when I was listening to this self-help book about the categories I need to be in, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, the way that I was working out before, it doesn't serve me anymore. And I've been trying for months to get back on that same regime. And I just like, I have no motivation. And then
yeah,
I felt someone asked me the other day, they're like, well, what is your why around why you're working out? And I'm like, I have no idea other than I know I should be doing it. So that's like, I hear that's kind of what you're saying here. It's like, I can't say, my goal is to be in the gym 3 times a week. What is
yeah,
the bigger like purpose that's going to be actually aligned with who I am and not just ticking the
yeah.
box? Is that what I'm
And
hearing?
maybe it's not right now. I mean, maybe 3 times a week isn't right now. I mean, I
Yeah.
think this idea of what you said, Michelin, about the now, presence is usually lived in the now. So your presence right now has nothing to do with being in the gym 3 times a week. It might just be about sitting on the couch and being okay with that. Because I think this whole idea of, the whole self-help movement, I love that you made that declaration, that it's really based in the masculine paradigm, and it's also based on the fact that something's wrong. And there's first, I think, if there's any skill set or anything to start from, it's to start from there's nothing wrong with me. I'm an
Mm-hmm.
explorer in life. I
Mm-hmm.
am. I'm moving through life exploring with myself about
Mhm.
what I love and what I don't love and what tastes good and what feels good and what doesn't feel good and what doesn't taste, in any of those moments, if we
Mm-hmm.
talk about presence, then the bottom line is you're on a journey of exploration. There's nothing wrong with you. You might decide to add a new ring or a new bracelet or a new pair of earrings, but it's still you adding those things.
Right.
And you can also take them off.
Mhm. Mhm.
You
Mhm.
can also decide, okay, now 2026, I'm going to be this, but I'm still me, but I'm going to add this thing to it. I
Mhm.
think starting from the baseline that I'm okay, that I'm me, and that it's okay is has to be one of the top skills that you would recommend to your client.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely recognize that even though presence or being here in the now or trying something new on, being the explorer, you call it the explorer, I say you're the author of your life, you're the master creator, right? You get to design your own life. And so what happens though is that's a lot of that big, you can
Picture.
change your life, you can live your best life. All of that comes from a lot of dreaming, and it doesn't anchor us in what stops us from that. And so there's that arrested development part, is we need to understand that our nervous systems, our biological systems are working. I mean, that's the whole purpose of our brains, is energy efficiency, keep us safe. That's it. So when we start stepping out of comfort zone, when we start trying on new things, it's just like every New Year's resolution, which we're about to come upon this season yet again. And everyone has these grand plans, and I just have to be more disciplined, and I just have to push harder, and very masculine model, right? But the truth of the matter is we have a psychological immune system that's going to go pull us right back to like an elastic, because we have a physical immune system. Yeah. If you needed a new heart, Denise, you would be given a new heart, but for the rest of your life, you would be on immune suppressant drugs because your body would want to kill off that heart. That is the nature of our beautiful bodies, right? So even though you need the heart to stay alive, your body still wants to kill it. So we have a psychological immune system as well. And that psychological immune system starts setting off all sorts of alarm bells when we start stepping out of that formation, out of that identity. And a lot of this has to do with a lot of the programming and beliefs that we were raised with as children, right? And so once we start stepping out of our comfort zone, we've got this pullback, right? Resistance that pulls us right back like an elastic. So the work that I do is really understanding, how is your current way showing up to pull you back? So this is where I work with metaphors. So once we have a topic and we understand what the overall arching developmental arc is that my clients want, then I identify through getting to know them, and I have a very rigorous theory of human development that I work with. It's a comprehensive theory of human development. I'm looking at and listening to, where are the areas that my client is strong, they have great skills in, and where are they challenged? Where is there some weaker muscles? And so then I develop metaphors, because our subconscious works in metaphors, right? That's why we have all these wild and crazy images at night when we go to sleep, right? So we have to work with the subconscious, and I work with metaphors. So I would identify a metaphor. How are you, Nia, currently showing up in this, let's just say this going to the gym topic, right? And so I would identify a metaphor for how you're currently approaching the topic. Then I would identify a metaphor for how you want to be in this topic. And these two metaphors, I'm working with them all the time. They are, like a part of who you are. But there's a developmental gap between current way and new way. And so the developments happen through coming together with conversation, and I'm trained to hear patterns in language. I'm trained to hear patterns, and I'm asking questions to uncover more and more of how you understand your life, not how I understand my life. I know nothing about your life. I just ask the questions. And then that is how it's revealed.
Nice.
When it's revealed, patterns are identified, and I hand it back to my clients for them to have their own awareness and understanding.
So what would be a good metaphor for Nia?
Well, this would not be a topic that I would work on because it's an outcome. So she wants to get back to the gym. But I would ask much more questions. What is it important about having a healthy body that's important to her? Right? So we would hear more of what she wants. And then what does health mean to her? And that would lead us into a different questions. When have you been really healthy in your life? And how did that show up in your life? And how are you currently trying to return to that healthy state again? So I would be listening for all of this to be able to identify a metaphor. So I can give you an example of a client of mine. She's a big real estate agent, okay, in the Scottsdale area, runs a lot of business, money, homes, people, she's a go. her girls were leaving home, and she was realizing that she has, given so much to her business and given so much to her daughters. She's kind of in the place of asking herself, like, who am I now without my daughters at home? And she felt herself quite clinging to her daughters and wanting to stay really close with them. And so she came in and we worked on a topic, and I identified 2 metaphors. And those metaphors were, the current way of metaphor was, now I got to remember, it was the dedicated workhorse, the way of the dedicated workhorse. So this dedicated workhorse, of course, is got a cart. She keeps putting more and more stuff into her cart, right? Takes on more at work, takes on more at home, takes on more from other friends and people. And she's trying to just keep showing everybody how dedicated she is to all of her family and all of her friends and all of her work and all of her clients. But there's no place in that for her. If you can feel into that metaphor, right? It evokes something within us. So her new way of being was the curious ship captain. So this was her, as I was discussing with her, she used to be a traveler and a photographer, and she'd love to go to new cities and just take pictures. And so I could feel that this desire for this curiosity, for adventure, this was part of her that had been missing for many, many years.
Wow. I want that.
Yeah.
I want that.
Of course. And I only work with clients for a minimum of 9 months. I stay with them. That's why I'm a partner. I know them very, very deeply. I understand. And this is not a fast process. Again, this ain't the bro-coded self-development. We're going to get you to the high of the mountain. It's slow, and we're going to get to know you, and we're going to understand this dedicated workhorse because she's beautiful. She's gotten her to where she's at. She's a beautiful part of her that needs honoring. Which in our way of our culture, it's kind of like, okay, let's get rid of the workhorse and bring in the ship. It's like, no. Yeah. That's not how we as humans grow. We don't cut out, although the medical system kind of like we don't cut out parts of ourselves and just expect it. No, we need a wholeness. And that's a very feminine.
That's really interesting. I love that you did that.
Yeah. And it's so funny how life works, but we kind of had this when we first met before the actual podcast. But I did think that this morning. I was like, okay, well, what is my higher purpose, or do I desire in my life that would make me feel like working out was important again? And I was like, I think that's probably the issue with everything in my life right now, is I just don't really know what my purpose or my mission, or like what is making me feel special, or what feels closest to me. But just to answer like the simplest for some of the things, like I don't mind being the coaching guinea pig a little bit because we're here. But when I was in my best, and this just major click moment for me, when I was in my best shape, I was going to the gym 6 days a week. I had a strict regimen. I was in such great shape and I loved everything about it. That was my lifeline after going through my worst heartbreak. And currently where I'm at in my life, I have a love that's fulfilling me. I don't really feel, I'm not that same woman anymore. So working out isn't what's showing up as love for myself anymore, because I have it in the other places that I was looking for it. So I feel like it kind of dropped.
Yeah.
Would that make sense as that kind of like starting the get to the metaphor?
Well, for sure, because what you're naming there is, you said it was a lifeline. So right there, that's an important word that I would like to explore, right? So lifeline means something to do with survival. So at a deep core level, you were in a survival mode. Does that feel accurate?
Yeah. And I really actually created my whole identity around working out for a good 2 years until it didn't serve me anymore. And in that mindset of the ladder and let's get to the end goal, I was like, well, let me make money off of this. If I'm going to be doing it, I might as well. And then that just stopped being fulfilling. But yeah, it gave me purpose again. It kind of like, it was something that I used to do with my partner. So I decided, and I do this with all my relationships, when it doesn't work anymore, I take something and make it my own. And so I took that, and that became everything to me.
Hmm.
So I know we're not in a coaching conversation per se right now,
Yeah.
but I'll just share with
No, we're not.
no, I'll just share with you from my own coaching experience where I would like to go next to explore is that part you just shared about your
Mhm.
with your exes, and this is what I always do,
Right, right.
right? Because there's something in there. There's some part of you that takes up this piece from your exes, or I don't know if it's multiple, I don't know, but that rises my curiosity. And with
Mm-hmm.
my curiosity, I'm feeling into, right? This is presence. I'm sensing that that's a piece that would be really important to explore. It might
Hmm.
not, and that's okay. We could start exploring it and it's not, and that's okay. But
Right.
that's where I go with my clients. I
Mm-hmm.
follow what they're sharing. I'm walking with them. We're tracking. This is tracking. It's just like tracking a wild animal. I'm tracking inside of you. Where's the fears? Where's the survival? Where's the patterns? Where it's showing up? And so that's where I would go next. And I'm just using that as an example to kind of share a little bit about what I do.
Well, for
I love
those who are
that.
out there in the listening land, you got to see just how Michelin works.
Little
And I would
samples.
say that the bottom line is this is a different direction because the self-help world is all about you have to get better, you have to work harder, you have to do this, you have to do that. And it is tiresome. And I love the idea of, the metaphor helping someone understand where they were and who they are in the moment and how to create from that space is really quite incredible. It really, really is.
And
We're
I
in a
don't think
place in
we
go
I don't
ahead.
think we feel into it, that idea of feeling instead of checking the boxes with here's the
Hmm.
outcome, 1, 2, 3 steps for outcome, instead of feeling if that path
Mhm,
makes sense, tracking the feeling, tracking
mhm,
that moment of getting stuck. Or okay, 1, 2, 3 steps, let's look at each of those steps. Did you sink down into the grass a
mhm,
little bit, or did you
mhm.
gallop quickly along, going back to that like animal concept?
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
So
So thank you
what
for
this
those
is and
examples.
how this is different is it is a deep honoring and respect for the intelligence of us as human beings. Nia, you have so much that can be honored, and the intelligence of how you're showing up, all of these defense mechanisms, all of these ways that we are full of anxiety and full of control, these are just defense mechanisms that are helping us to stay safe. And so I honor deeply the intelligence of every single client I work with. And this is why I work with them for a longer period of time. It's not just a quick one and done, because it's deep, it's very deep work. And I don't mean deep as in going back into childhood deep. I'm just
Yeah.
meaning it's just very deep and it's expansive. And this is why it's just opening up the wisdom of who you are.
I love that whole idea of that toy. Somebody just the other day, someone was saying something about that toy, how it just, life is a expansion and contraction,
Totally.
just like that. It's
Yeah.
amazing how, you know, that concept of life is expanding and contracting. It's
Yeah.
always expanding and contracting. It's very interesting. It's like breathing.
It
It
is,
really
it
is.
is. And that's the Waldorf School, actually. That's the curriculum of the Waldorf School is based on anthroposophy. I studied anthroposophy for years, and anthroposophy is the natural unfolding of consciousness of a human being.
Hmm.
Right? This is Rudolf Steiner was a mystic in the early 1920s in Austria, and this is what he, was connecting into. And so the Waldorf School movement is actually based on not only the consciousness of a human, but the consciousness collective. So we came from tribal, and then we moved into individuality, and then we moved into this, and then we moved into this. And so the curriculum of the Waldorf School follows that trajectory.
Wow. I
Yeah,
didn't really know that. I just knew that it was a much gentler way to raise your child, especially when
totally,
they're young,
for
to have
sure.
them in that environment. So it
Yeah,
was it was actually Waldorf was fun.
it's
Was it Nia?
beautiful.
Was it really fun, Nia? I just want to know.
5-year-old me, I don't
Yeah.
recall.
Walking through Laurelhurst community, the Laurelhurst neighborhood with their little
Oh,
baskets and
yeah.
it was just cute to
Sweet.
see. It was very sweet. It was very
Yeah.
sweet. It was very,
Yeah.
very sweet.
Yeah. My children deeply loved it, and they also make fun of it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, patchouli. Every time I smell patchouli, I'm, because it kind of has a
Yeah.
little bit of that, hippie feel, even though it's
Yeah.
not
Mm-hmm.
hippie at
Yeah.
all. It's like,
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, all of those things talk about the evolution of person, of consciousness, of presence in general. Patchouli's a big thing now. All the,
Right.
Palo Santos, and I'm
yeah.
sure I'm talking to people out there.
Sage.
Now
Yeah.
they're burning that and sage, and it's amazing how some of the things from our tribal way of being, or the indigenous people, is becoming a part of our day-to-day life, which, by the way, is a great thing
Mm-hmm.
because we've gotten too masculine in our approach. And it's nice to know that people can just be themselves, and
Mhm.
that what they bring to the table is a contribution, and that it doesn't have to be the way that everyone else does it.
Mhm.
Individuality is a part of the collective whole. So it's very interesting to see that whole
Mhm.
piece to the puzzle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hey.
Yeah.
Haha.
That's coming back to kind of full circle of coming back to the conversation around ancestral intelligence.
Yeah.
And so we have this deep ancient intelligence. It's in our bones, it's in our DNA.
It's in our
And so this
bones.
return of burning of sage and now my generation, we are returning to our culture, and we
That's
are,
nice.
accessing our status again, and returning to understanding and learning. I'm starting a course in a week to learn the language, which is called the Mishif, and it's not something I ever
It's going to
learned.
be nice. That's going to
Yeah.
be sweet. That'll be wonderful. And it doesn't mean that going back to your culture makes you supreme over other people.
Yes,
I
of
just want to
course.
say that, because going back to your culture means that you're going back to experience who you are. That's all it means, and
Mhm.
how you are a part of the global whole. There
Yeah.
needs to be more conversation around that, but that's another podcast. How to be a part of the global whole as
Oh,
opposed
I
to
could
these
I could talk a lot
nationalist
about that.
ideas that are out there. So anyway,
Yeah.
Before
Mhm.
we
it's
come
very, very
to the
good.
end here, I really would love
Yeah.
to allow you to have the opportunity to talk about your book. First, congratulations. A book coming early 2026 is a major accomplishment.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
Claps,
is.
claps, claps, claps. So, give us a little bit of information about what to expect, and what would you love to
Yeah.
share with us?
Yeah, thank you for that. So, yes, this has been a labor of love. I have been doing conscious parenting work for probably 30 years. I was a school counselor for a while, and I quickly realized it's the parents, the teachers, the leaders who needed the help, and not necessarily the children. And so that's when I moved into coaching and leadership and executive work. And so this book, the intersectionality of conscious parenting and conscious leadership, they're the exact same skills. And this is what I've lined out in this book. And so um, a lot of the book's really written for women who are in positions of leadership, women who have pretty full, whether they're starting their own businesses, whether they're already founders of a big business, whether they're in big positions of leadership. I've worked with women in Fortune 500 companies who are also mothers, because we all want a future that has more balance between the masculine and feminine. We want more of this feminine energy. We want more women in leadership positions, in policy making, in politics, in board meetings, in CEOs, C-suites. But these are also our mothers. And so that's an important piece to remember when we keep thinking we want more women leadership. Well, we need to build the systems that are going to support both their feminine leadership, but also being mothers at home. And so I really think that this book it's kind of a beginning conversation to really help recognize that if we women want to see more women in leadership positions, we cannot negate the important work that's done, especially in those first 7 years of life between the mother and the child, because that is laying down the foundation for everything else in this child's life moving forward. And so the book right now, it's, again, like I said, it's for this executive woman, professional woman. The working title is You Have No Control Over Your Kids. And I'm introducing a new model, which I called leadership parenting in this book. So, and yeah, it's coming out I think it's going to be April of 2026. I'm super excited.
Yay.
April 2026, April. Yay. That's going to be great. Well,
Yeah.
I also would love for you to tell us how we can get in touch with you. What is your
Sure.
website?
Yeah. So my website's my full name, Micheline Green, Micheline, and green like the color.com. And I do have an offer on my website, and it's called Awakening Your Spidey Senses. So I use grandmother spider as a metaphor. And what I often talk about is we know we are a part of a world wide web, obviously through our internet, but also our world wide web of the global connection that we all are. And so, where I feel is a great first place to begin is starting to reconnect to the senses that we already have. Now, we all know we have five senses and we recognize those, but do we actually bring attention to them and awareness in the present moment? And then Rudolf Steiner, actually, the founder of the Waldorf School movement, he talked about 12 senses. And so I cover 15 senses in this is online free sort of
Wow, I want to know what
polling.
those are.
Yeah. And so it's just deepening and bringing out
Nice.
more awareness to our senses. So it's called Awaken Your Spidey Senses, and you can download it from my website.
Yay. Well, hello. Let's have
Yeah.
that. This is wonderful, Micheline. I'm so happy. I was excited when we did our pre-interview anyway,
Yeah.
excited about what you were bringing to the table. I love the idea of balancing the feminine, the male and feminine. One of the reasons I've been so focused on women is because our energy or the things we bring to the table were so out of balance. They were so left off of the equation. So seeing women come more to the forefront is really important. And I think we still have a lot of room to gather and support and really commit to our feminine energies and
Yeah.
what they really bring to the table and how it's
Yeah.
important for us to come to the table to help everyone else thrive. It's funny, I did a presentation on women's leadership and I had to change the name of the course at the very end because of all the DE&I stuff that's going on right now. So I had to really change it. And one of the things that I ended up saying was it's important because it was supposed to be a whole women's summit and they had to open it up to men too. So one man came because we all know most of these summits are fueled by women and attended by women, but one guy came and it was perfect because I turned to him and said, you need to know and understand what feminine traits women, what kind of leadership traits women bring to the table, because we know what traits you bring to the table. You need to understand what we bring to the table. And for the both of us, we need to learn how to lead in balance, that the men that are out there understand those traits and start to utilize them, and that the traits that we've been working on, we need to start utilizing more of our feminine traits and not so much of the masculine traits. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. I really appreciate your being on with us. I appreciate the direction, just very, I never thought about some of the things that you said. And I think these are words and understandings that we should take with us for those of us who are listening. Just remember, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. And that you're just a gatherer. Be curious about what you're gathering about yourself. Would you say that that's true?
100%. I really love that, when I'm working with my clients, or I'm meeting clients for the first time, a lot of them will say to me, I really don't understand what you do, but I know I need it. And I always say that is the edge. You're standing right on the edge. You don't know what's coming, but you're sensing something that I'm saying or something that I'm talking about that feels like there's something there I need, but I
There's
don't know
something
what it
there I
is
need.
because we
Yeah.
can't see what's coming next.
Yeah.
And so
And nor
we
should
as
we. I don't know if
women,
we need to see what's coming next necessarily, but the bottom line is I just do invite for those of you who are listening, get on the edge, figure out what the edge is for you and be open and curious about the things that you're collecting about yourself. Ask yourself three key things. Who am I? What do I do in life? And what's my value? And based on that, I think there is transformation and change. So thanks so much, Micheline. I appreciate having you. Woohoo!
Thank you to both of
Yay!
you. What a fun hour to spend with you both.
Yay! Absolutely. So that's the end of this show, and I'm asking all of our listeners to share these experiences with other women, people in general, but certainly other women. Share it. Let's grow this community. This community, we're doing our best to bring you the best of the best. We don't have celebrities. We're not into necessarily having celebrities for you to listen to. The whole point of Women Express is to bring everyday conversations, everyday Oprahs to the table. And that's what we're doing. We find people like Micheline who bring something interesting that you may not have ever heard from. So share this podcast, take it out there and let other people, send it to 3 friends and allow others to be a part of the Women Express podcast tribe. And that's it for today. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.